What the hell do you mean? What kind of sauce? Read the damn ticket before asking stupid questions. Darren Nolan froze, halfway through wiping down a prep counter, his heart thudding. He hadn't expected to hear that. Not 5 feet from him. Not shouted at a young server who looked barely 20. Not yelled loud enough for customers at the pickup window to glance in. But maybe he should have. That was the whole reason he was here. Darren had owned the 17-location diner-style restaurant chain for 6 years. Bought it from a retiring couple who had built it up slowly over 30 years. They'd been proud of the family feel, the way regulars knew the servers by name, the kind of place where cooks and waitresses shared birthday cakes in the break room. But lately, he'd been getting complaints. Not the usual stuff like cold fries or long wait times. These were different. A few customer reviews talking about staff being cold or tense. 2 separate complaints about managers being checked out and rushing everyone like robots. 1 mention of a cook yelling at a server. Darren didn't want to rely on filtered reports anymore. His district manager, Pete, was stretched thin covering all 17 stores. So Darren decided to go see for himself. He picked the 11th store one he hadn't visited in over 2 years, located in a suburb just outside Kansas City. A middle performer, not their worst, not their best. No one there had ever met him. The staff had turned over after the pandemic, and the current GM had only been there a year. Darren disguised himself well, grew out a short beard, wore a cheap hoodie, cargo pants, and a plain ball cap. He introduced himself as Dave, a new trainee sent by corporate to learn the ropes for possible shift manager placement. That was common enough it explained why he was older than the other new hires. The GM, a guy named Travis, didn't ask many questions. He looked stressed the moment Darren walked in. "We're down 2 cooks and a dishwasher tonight," he said, barely making eye contact. "Dinner rush is gonna be hell. Just stick with Mandy, she's lead server today. Watch, help, stay out of the way." So Darren did. He followed Mandy, a tall woman in her 30s with tired eyes and a calm voice. She moved fast but treated everyone with quiet respect. She showed Darren how to clear tables, refill drinks, check the POS system, and prep side salads. He saw enough in the first hour to know something was off. The cooks were slammed, yeah, but there was no teamwork. No rhythm. The kitchen felt like a pressure cooker ready to blow. One of the cooks, a broad-shouldered guy named Derek, barked at everyone. Not just barked, snapped, insulted, mocked. No one pushed back. They just nodded, took it, moved faster. Then came the moment. Mandy had just rung in a complicated custom order burger, no bun, extra pickles, chipotle mayo on the side. The youngest server, a girl named Kayla, maybe 19, hesitated at the counter. "Hey, Derek," she asked quietly, holding the ticket. "It says chipotle mayo, but the button's not. Do I just write it in or?" That's when Derek exploded, his voice boomed. "What the hell do you mean? What kind of sauce? Read the damn ticket before asking stupid questions." Kayla went pale. Customers heard it. One of them actually pushed her food tray back like she didn't want to be part of this anymore. Darren clenched his jaw. His instinct was to step in, say something. But he wasn't Darren the CEO in that moment, he was Dave the trainee. So he just watched as Mandy quickly stepped in and whispered something to Kayla, gently guiding her back to the dining area. Travis, the GM, had been in the office. He came out 20 seconds too late. "What happened?" he asked, glancing around. "Nothing," Derek muttered, flipping patties. "Just a dumb question." Travis didn't press, just sighed and went back to the office. Darren took a breath and kept cleaning, but his mind was racing. He needed to stay longer, see more. This wasn't just a bad night, it felt like a culture problem. And he wasn't going to fix it by yelling from a boardroom. He just hoped he could hold his tongue long enough to see it all. By the time the dinner rush ended, Darren's shirt was clinging to his back, and his hands smelled like fryer grease and sanitizer. He had cleared nearly every table twice, restocked napkin dispensers, and run food to booths while trying to stay unnoticed. But what stuck with him more than the exhaustion was how many employees looked worn down in a way that went beyond being busy. At the end of the shift, Mandy checked the tip pool and handed out envelopes. Everything was done quietly, quickly, no small talk. Darren noticed Kayla barely looked up when she took hers. She kept rubbing the inside of her wrist like the skin hurt there. He followed her outside, pretending to toss trash into the bin. "You good?" he asked, keeping his voice casual. She startled. "Yeah, I'm fine." She pulled her sleeves down over her hands. "You handled a lot tonight," he said. "Thought you did great." Kayla hesitated, then nodded. "Thanks." "It's just always like this." "What do you mean?" She looked around. The parking lot was nearly empty. "You ever work somewhere where people don't yell all the time? Like, where they don't treat you like you're disposable if you mess up once?" Darren kept his expression neutral. "I've worked a few places. Travis doesn't care. He just wants the drive-through numbers to look good. Derek's been here forever, so he gets away with everything. I don't think he even knows half our names. You told him your name tonight. I've told him 4 times. She gave a tight, bitter laugh and opened her car door. "It doesn't matter. I'm trying to get into nursing school anyway. Just need a few more paychecks." She drove off before he could say anything else. The next morning, Darren arrived early. He got coffee across the street and watched the diner from his car. Travis showed up 15 minutes before open, still chewing gum and holding a half-eaten breakfast sandwich. He unlocked the door, glancing at his phone the whole time. Inside, Darren offered to help set up. The prep cook, an older man named Lionel, was already working through a crate of vegetables, his earbuds in. He gave Darren a silent nod and kept slicing. At mid-morning, the pace eased. Mandy was back on shift, this time training a new hire named Talia. Talia looked eager but overwhelmed, tapping the wrong button on the register twice and apologizing each time. Mandy didn't raise her voice once. She leaned in, showing her how to re-enter the order without making it a big deal. Darren watched from the side, wiping down menus. When Mandy stepped away to answer a phone call, he came closer. "She's lucky to have you training her," he said. Mandy gave a tired smile. "I try to make it easier than it was for me. My first shift, I asked a question about side substitutions and Derek made me cry in the walk-in." Darren raised his eyebrows. "He's still like that. Worse, especially when Travis isn't around, but even when he is, nothing changes." "What does he have on him?" "Nothing. He just works fast and doesn't call out. That's all that matters, apparently." She tossed a pen onto the counter. "It's like they think speed excuses everything else." Before Darren could respond, Travis called from the back. "Mandy, got a sec," she went. Darren followed to the edge of the hallway, close enough to hear without being seen. "I need you to cover the Friday overnight shift," Travis said. "We're short again. I've already got a double Thursday and a closing Saturday." "Yeah, that's why I'm asking you." "You can handle it." There was a pause. "I haven't had a full day off in 13 days, so take Sunday. I already have classes Sunday. You want more hours or not?" "I want fair hours," Mandy said, her voice flat. "Not to be the only one you ask every time someone quits." "You're not the only one I ask. You're just the only one who doesn't say no." Mandy didn't answer. She walked past Darren without a word, heading for the back cooler. Darren waited until Travis came out. "She okay?" Travis shrugged. "She'll be fine. She always is. You ever think about giving her a break? She's one of our best. Can't afford to." Darren folded his arms. "Wouldn't keeping her from burning out help you afford to keep her?" Travis blinked. "You new guys get real opinionated fast. Just seems like she's doing 5 jobs. Better than doing none," Travis muttered and walked off. Darren spent the rest of the lunch shift shadowing Talia. She was picking things up fast. But when Derek came in for the evening line, the mood shifted again. He barely glanced at the order screen before shouting for someone to stop sending in sloppy tickets. He tossed a spatula into the sink hard enough that it clanged against the steel. No one responded. They just moved faster. Later that night, Darren pretended to take a smoke break and found Lionel behind the building, sipping from a thermos. "Didn't think you smoked," Darren said. "Don't," Lionel replied. "Just need 10 minutes where no one's talking at me." They stood in silence for a moment. You've been here a while, Darren asked. 5 years, you like it? Lionel gave a short laugh. I like cooking. I don't like watching kids get chewed out because the printer jammed. He sipped again. You ever hear Travis say thank you? Darren shook his head. Exactly, he's all numbers. Derek's all ego. The ones keeping this place running are the ones they don't notice. The next day, Darren arrived before sunrise and asked to work dish. He wanted to see who actually showed up early, who cut corners, and who picked up the slack. By noon, his shoulders ached from lifting heavy trays and his fingers were raw from scrubbing pans that hadn't been soaked properly. He saw Derek dump a full tray of unwashed prep knives into the sink without saying a word. Saw Travis step over a loose floor mat instead of fixing it. Watched Mandy refill the ketchup station with one hand while helping Taylor ring up a customer with the other. But the worst came at the end of the shift. Derek was talking to another cook about Kayla. He wasn't whispering, he wasn't even trying to keep it quiet. She's too soft, he said. One more mistake and I'm telling Travis to get rid of her. This ain't a daycare, the other cook chuckled. She's scared of you, man. She should be. Darren's blood ran cold. That was it. He walked straight into the office where Travis was flipping through the schedule. You need to come out front. Why? We're going to have a conversation with everyone present, Travis frowned. About what? About the culture you've let fester in this store. Travis narrowed his eyes. Who do you think you are, man? Darren took off his hat. I'm the owner. It was like watching a circuit short out behind Travis's eyes. His mouth opened, closed, then opened again. What? You heard me. I've been working here for the past 3 days. I've seen enough. Travis stood up. Look, if I'd known, that's the problem. You only show respect when you think someone's above you. Darren turned and walked out to the dining area. Everyone, can I have your attention for a minute? The staff, most of them mid-task, froze. Mandy came around the corner, wiping her hands on a towel. Kayla stood near the drink station. Even Derek looked up from the grill. I'm not a trainee, Darren said. I'm Darren Nolan. I own this company. Silence. Then a few forks clinked onto plates. Eyes widened. No one moved. I went undercover because I've been hearing things. And I wanted to see for myself what was happening in this location. What I saw was unacceptable. He looked directly at Derek. You've created a hostile environment. You've humiliated your coworkers in front of customers. You've disrespected people who were just trying to do their jobs. That ends now. You're done here. Leave. Derek's face went red. You're firing me. For what? I'm the fastest guy you got. You're also the most toxic, and that's not a trade I'm willing to make. He turned to Travis. You've enabled this. You've ignored every red flag. You're on suspension until further notice. Don't come back until you hear from me. Travis didn't speak. He just walked out slowly, eyes on the floor. Darren looked at the rest of the staff. I'm sorry, I should have seen this sooner. That's on me. No one said anything. Then Mandy stepped forward. Thank you, Darren nodded. We're not done. I'll be back tomorrow, and the next day. Until we rebuild this place the way it was meant to be. He turned back to the kitchen. Let's get through this dinner rush. Together. The next morning, Darren arrived before dawn again, but this time through the front door, not the side. He wore a pressed button-up, clean jeans, and his usual watch. No hat, no hoodie, no cover story. The night crew was just clocking out. They nodded in confusion, unsure how to respond. Word had spread overnight. By opening, the entire staff knew. Darren asked Mandy to meet him in the dining area before prep started. She looked wary but came anyway, her apron folded under one arm. I know yesterday was a lot, Darren began, pulling out a chair. Mandy stayed standing. You're not here to pull some PR stunt, are you? No, I'm here because I know what I let slide, and I want to fix it before anyone else pays for that. She sat slowly, cautious. I need someone to take the lead this week, Darren said. You already do the work. I'd like to make it official interim store lead. Temporary raise, full authority to approve or deny shift coverage, and I'll handle payroll adjustments myself. That's not why I'm here. I know, she hesitated. I'm not saying yes yet, you shouldn't. Not until you see the changes mean something. She nodded once and stood. Then I'll see what today looks like. Darren didn't follow her. He sat alone for a moment, watching the sun rise through the window, the parking lot slowly filling in. By mid-morning, the tension in the kitchen was different, not gone, just unfamiliar. There was space now, physical and emotional. Without Derek dominating the line, the remaining cooks adjusted their flow. Slower, but more cooperative. Talia asked Lionel how to prep corned beef hash without getting snapped at. He showed her, not with a lecture, just a quiet demonstration. Darren kept to the background, observing. The register jammed once. Kayla fixed it without calling for help. She still avoided eye contact with the grill station but walked straighter. At noon, Travis returned. He stood in the entryway, unsure of where to go. His polo shirt was wrinkled. His face looked tight with unease. Darren met him halfway. "You're not here to work," Darren said. "I just wanted to talk." Outside. They stepped into the alley behind the building, away from the noise. "I've been thinking about what you said," Travis started, "and you're right, I got comfortable. I was hitting my targets and stopped paying attention to how." "You didn't just stop paying attention, you avoided it." Travis rubbed the back of his neck. "I figured if the numbers were okay, everything else would fix itself. It doesn't. It never does." "I know that now." Darren crossed his arms. "I'm not reinstating you," Travis blinked. "Even if I own what I did. You didn't just fail upward, you failed people. Kayla deserves to work without fear. Mandy deserves to breathe between shifts. You don't get to try again here." Travis nodded slowly. "Then I'll leave it alone." He turned to go, then paused. "You should know Derek only got worse because he knew I wouldn't step in. That's on me, but he used to be different. Before the pandemic, he wasn't like that." "Something changed." "Everyone changed," Darren said. "The ones who made others pay for it, those are the ones I can't keep." Travis left without another word. Back inside, Darren found Mandy reviewing the schedule on a clipboard. She looked up with a question. "Are we getting a replacement manager?" "Not yet. You're in charge for now." She nodded once and returned to the schedule. By late afternoon, the rhythm of the store had begun to shift. It wasn't smoother, yet there were gaps, questions, moments of hesitation. But the undercurrent of fear had lessened. It showed in how Kayla leaned closer to customers when taking orders, in how Lionel asked Talia if she wanted to swap prep duties for a change of pace. Mandy called for a short staff huddle before dinner service. They gathered near the soda machine, some still holding dish towels or order pads. "I know yesterday shook everyone," she said, "but I want to make something clear. We're not going back to how things were. If you've got a concern, bring it. If you're overwhelmed, say something. No one here should be afraid to ask a question." No one responded immediately, then Lionel nodded. "That works both ways, right? If I see something off, I can bring it to you." "Absolutely." Darren stepped forward. "And me too, I'll be on site all week." "Not to audit, just to help." Taylor raised her hand slightly. "Does that mean we can ask for more training time?" "Yes," said Mandy without hesitation. Dinner rush hit hard. A late truck delivery meant half the sauces had to be restocked mid-service. A table of 7 walked in without a reservation. One of the fryers sputtered and had to be rotated out, but no one yelled. No one threw anything. No one was belittled. Darren spent half the shift on dishes, the other half refilling ice and covering a short gap at the drive-thru. Mandy floated between stations, not with urgency, but with attentiveness. When Kayla dropped a tray of water glasses, the only reaction was a few paper towels being handed over. At the end of the night, Darren found Mandy outside near the back door. She was sitting on a milk crate, sipping from a cold bottle of water. "I don't know if today was good," she said, "but it wasn't bad. That's a big step." She looked up. "You know what I realized? We don't need someone barking orders. We need someone who listens before they speak." Darren nodded slowly. "You willing to be that person?" "I'm willing to learn how." They sat in silence for a while, the hum of the walk-in cooler the only sound behind them. Inside, the last of the crew was clocking out. Talia left with a tired smile. Kayla waved goodbye without flinching. The place wasn't fixed, not yet. But for the first time in a long time it felt like it could be, and Darren had no intention of stepping away again. 2 weeks passed. Darren never left. He rotated between morning prep and closing duties, working side by side with the team every day. Sometimes he stayed quiet, just watching how people moved. Other times he asked small questions about what slowed them down, what helped, what got in their way. He didn't bring in cameras. Didn't make speeches, he just showed up on time and did the work. The first few days were stiff. People waited for the catch, but nothing dramatic happened. Darren took trash out when it overflowed. He restocked the cooler. He stayed late when Mandy had to leave for class. Slowly, the edge wore down. On the third Thursday, the new GM arrived. Her name was Dana. Late 30s, sharp eyes, calm voice. Darren had recruited her from a different region after reviewing her track record: high retention, strong morale, consistent numbers. She didn't walk in swinging a clipboard. She introduced herself to each employee one by one, took notes on a small notepad, and spent her first shift shadowing Lionel in prep. Mandy met her during changeover. "You're not going to just run it from your office?" she asked. Dana shook her head. "No. That's not how I work." Mandy folded her arms. "We've had a lot of promises lately." "Then I'll show you instead." Darren watched their interaction from the hallway. No tension, just caution, which was fair. Trust wasn't something these employees gave away easily anymore. That night, Darren sat with Dana in the office, door open, lights low going over the staffing grid. "We're still short 2 positions," she said, tapping her pen. "Line cook and night shift utility. But I'd rather run lean than bring in someone who doesn't fit the culture." "Agreed. I've got 2 leads. One's a former employee who left during the pandemic. The other's a referral from Mandy. She says the guy's calm, listens, and doesn't cut corners. Let's bring them in for working interviews. They'll show us who they are." Dana nodded and closed the folder. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course." "Why didn't you just fire the whole management level and start over?" Darren leaned back slightly. "Because not everyone failed in the same way. Travis ignored things. Derek targeted people. But Mandy, she stepped up. Lionel kept showing up. Kayla stayed even when it was hard. Some of the best people were buried under bad leadership. I wanted to see who they were when the pressure let up." Dana nodded once and stood. "Fair answer." The next day, Dana ran the pre-shift meeting. Nothing flashy. She reviewed the food safety updates, asked who still needed new uniforms, and reminded everyone that tip pooling was being restructured with input from the crew so kitchen and front of house were more balanced. Kayla raised her hand. "Will that include the overnight shift?" Dana answered without hesitation. "Yes, everyone who contributes to service gets counted." No one clapped. No one needed to. The silence said enough. Later that week, the new line cook came in for a trial shift. His name was Ed, mid-20s, quiet, steady hands. Mandy worked the line beside him, calling orders at a manageable pace. He didn't flinch when the printer jammed. He fixed it. When Talia forgot to mark a modification, he pulled her aside and clarified without attitude. After the shift, Mandy caught Darren by the mop station. "He's good," she said. "Doesn't talk much but reads the room. We could use that, then he's in." "Just like that, you've earned the right to make the call." She hesitated. "You're actually giving me that, I'm not giving it." "You already took it, I'm just catching up." She didn't smile. She just nodded and walked back to the kitchen. That night, Darren had dinner at the counter with Lionel, not as the owner, just as someone who was finally welcome at the table. Lionel sipped from a mug and looked around the dining area. "You know what's different?" he asked. "What?" "People ain't looking over their shoulders anymore." Darren followed his gaze. Kayla was showing Talia how to balance a tray with one hand. Mandy was folding silverware rolls while listening to a podcast in one ear. Ed was wiping down the grill with quiet precision. "They're not walking on eggshells," Lionel added. "They're just working." Darren nodded. "That's the goal." Lionel leaned forward. "You staying?" "I'll rotate through the other stores next month, but I'll be back." "Good, don't vanish." "I won't." The next morning, Dana posted the new shift policy. It was simple. 2 consecutive days off per employee minimum, no doubles without opt-in. No schedule changes without notice and approval. She also set up weekly one-on-ones 5 minutes per person just to check in. Talia was first. She looked nervous walking into the office but came out standing straighter. Behind her, Mandy waited. "I don't need a check-in," she said. Dana raised an eyebrow. "Still going to do it." Mandy sighed and stepped inside. When she came out, Darren caught her near the drink station. "You good?" She nodded. "Yeah," she asked what I need to stay. "No one's asked that before." "What did you say?" A manager who doesn't wait until people snap to notice them. "Think you've got that now?" Mandy glanced toward the office. "She's trying. That's more than we've had." That Friday, during the evening rush, a customer left a note on their receipt. Just 3 words scribbled in pen, "Feels better here." Kayla found it while clearing the table. She handed it to Mandy without comment. Mandy tucked it into the side of the cash drawer. No ceremony, just quiet confirmation. At close, Darren stepped out into the parking lot. The air smelled like rain, but the clouds held off. Dana joined him, arms crossed. "You think this store's going to hold?" she asked. "I think it already is." "You trust them?" "I trust what they've shown me," she nodded. "Then it's your move now." "What's next?" Darren looked through the glass windows into the diner that had gone from tense and brittle to something resilient. "I've got 16 more stores to visit." "You going undercover again?" "No, that chapter's done. Now I go in as myself." "And listen." Dana held the door open as they walked back inside. The lights were dimmed. The crew was laughing softly as they wiped down the last of the tables. No fanfare, no speeches, just a team that had been heard and wasn't going back to silence.